Before the takeover of Afghanistan by the Taliban forces, U.S. intelligence analysts had predicted it would likely take several more weeks before Afghanistan's civilian government in Kabul fell to Taliban fighters. In reality, it only took a few short days. On Sunday, Taliban militants retook Afghanistan's capital almost 2 decades after they were driven from Kabul by U.S. troops. Although Afghan security forces were well-funded and well-equipped, they put up little resistance as Taliban militants seized much of the country following the withdrawal of U.S. troops beginning in early July. Who are the Taliban and what do they want? Formed in 1994, the Taliban were made up of former Afghan resistance fighters known collectively as Mujahideen, who fought the invading Soviet forces in the 1980s. They aimed to impose their interpretation of Islamic law on the country and remove any foreign influence. After the Taliban captured Kabul in 1996, the Sunni Islamist organization put in place strict rules. Women had to wear head-to-toe coverings, weren't allowed to study or work, and were forbidden from traveling alone. TV, music, and non-Islamic holidays were also banned. That changed after September 11, 2001, when 19 men hijacked 4 commercial planes in the US, crashing 2 into the World Trade Center towers, 1 into the Pentagon, and another, destined for Washington, into a field in Pennsylvania. More than 2,700 people were killed in the attacks. The attack was orchestrated by al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden, who operated from inside of Taliban-controlled Afghanistan. Less than a month after the attack, U.S. and allied forces invaded Afghanistan, aiming to stop the Taliban from providing a safe haven to al-Qaeda, and to stop al-Qaeda from using Afghanistan as a base of operations for terrorist activities. In the 2 decades since they were ousted from power, the Taliban have been waging an insurgency against the allied forces and the US-backed Afghan government. What do the Taliban want? The Taliban have tried to present themselves as different from the past. They have claimed to be committed to the peace process, an inclusive government, and willing to maintain some rights for women. Taliban spokesman Sohail Shaheen said women will be allowed to continue their education from primary to higher education, a break from the rules during the Taliban's past rule between 1996 and 2001. Shaheen also said diplomats, journalists, and non-profits would continue operating in the country. That is our commitment, to provide a secure environment and they can carry out their activities for the people of Afghanistan, he said. But many observers worry that a return to Taliban rule is a return to the Afghanistan of 2 decades ago, when women's rights were severely restricted. Antonio Guterres, the United Nations Secretary General, said in a tweet that hundreds of thousands were being forced to flee and reports of serious human rights violations. International humanitarian law and human rights, especially the hard-won gains of women and girls, must be preserved, he said. Emil Sheikh Hall, the author of Modern Afghanistan, A History of Struggle and Survival, said the Taliban did not want Afghanistan to become a pariah state and wanted to continue receiving international aid. But, Sheikh said, as far as their ideological commitment is concerned, they have not really changed. American officials have expressed dismay at the now-fallen US-backed Afghan government's inability to protect key cities and regions from the Taliban, despite laying out a strategy for doing so during his communications with Biden and other senior US leaders. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said, "The lack of resistance that the Taliban faced from Afghan forces has been extremely disconcerting. They had all the advantages. They had 20 years of training by our coalition forces, a modern air force, good equipment, and weapons," he said, according to sources on the call where he made the comments. But you cannot buy will, and you can purchase leadership, and And that's really what was missing in this situation.